The engineers at Ripple are stating that there is a stress test happening behind the scenes right now, and we should all be checking into it. However, ladies and gentlemen, today's show will see us breaking, could this be a stress test? Since we are aware that they desire a robust market infrastructure for the world to come? Regarding tokenized assets, all right, they're going to deploy brand new infrastructure on the blockchain. It needs to grow, and testing must be conducted. As you recall, we discussed the 4 Sundays on this channel. And it will be connected to this. However, this isn't done on Sundays, it was an impromptu attack. Take a seat, unwind, and enjoy. We're also going to watch a video from the BIS Innovation Hub in this one. Tell me that he is discussing XRP without actually mentioning it. I find it hard to believe, but let's get started. As you have seen over the past 72 hours, payments on the XRP ledger have surged dramatically, which is why the Ripple engineers are quite excited about this stress push. It began on December 26th and occurred again today. Everything seemed to be increasing in terms of successful ledger payments. What may be the cause of this? It appears that these are some spam wallets that are being used on the XRP ledger. Thus, Wasteco says this in this instance. This does not indicate that the validation process failed, rather, the validation consensus processing proceeds as intended, carrying out its intended function. Makes advancements. Some of you may be a little confused by this while others are in disagreement or trailing, but I'll explain in a moment. The problem is, if this occurs at 50 transactions per second, what would happen when there are 100? What happens if more nodes continue to flap and aren't yet on negative UNL? Almost all of the networks would be clogged, and one of the key engineers would be affected. 2 years ago, that would have been unimaginable, but folks, we did reach a milestone when the X ledger was able to handle sustained traffic of 50 to 60 transactions per second and continue forward progress with relatively few hiccups. At Ripple, Makuya, said this. I may have said that I do apologize for your concerns, but I think that we should also be celebrating that. You have to see this, someone said in response. Visa processes more than 1,600 transactions every second. Why are we all in here discussing blockchain technology and waste wind? The person said, wows, adding that the advancement lies in self-custody and a single, worldwide network that settles transactions instantly. And one of the other key engineers continued, saying that any blockchain network that asserts to already contain consensus messages in its transaction per second count is still in the early stages of development. Indeed, there isn't a blockchain just yet. Approximately 7 transactions per second are made with Bitcoin, and then there is a lot to consider since, in terms of Ethereum, I think we are talking about 30 to 40 transactions per second. Alright, so let's take a look at this ledger that processed 565 transactions. It comes from FOMO. Indeed, one of the developers replied. Here is the live transaction page where you can see some of the larger ones that are on their way. Please have a look at it. Wow, have a look at all of these ledgers that are being processed. Each ledger is performing transactions. One of the founding members of the Ripple community is speaking about yes. Some significant ones are arriving, so how from an innovation hub perspective, can this influence be so great from an institutional standpoint since they look at these and this is what they consider to be a major milestone for XRP? This stress test is excellent. By intentionally raising the strain on the system, this is a significant milestone for XRP, and I'm curious to see how these infrastructures manage it. Could this be a spam institution? Examine the infrastructure's ability to manage large numbers of transactions. This aids in comprehending the system's utmost capacity and scalability requirements, and in a moment we'll be watching a film that will want to hold on to your jaw for this one, so please put your jaw down. Stress testing can show how the system responds to demand spikes, including how well it can handle transaction prioritization, recover from congested states, and preserve security and integrity in potentially uncommon situations. Testing the limitations of a system might assist in finding holes or inefficiencies that might not be noticeable during regular operations. This may result in the design of the system being improved, or inefficiencies may be acceptable. And you have that when you examine it from a regulatory standpoint. Regulatory assurance. Don't you think that regulatory agencies or other organizations seeking to accept or authorize new technologies should evaluate how well they function under stress testing is an important part of the vetting process, since it ensures that the system is capable of handling real-world situations and harsh circumstances without jeopardizing performance or security, as in this instance, the events that transpired. It handled it flawlessly. Massive assembly on February 28, 2024. The lead developers are the ones saying that. Into Ripple and have a look at this. The OCC will convene on February 8, 2024, and they will discuss tokenizing the actual world. Resources and obligations. This is enormous. Pay attention to this. To increase efficiency and robustness, the symposium will encourage public discussion of the possibility of tokenizing real financial assets and liabilities in the real world, of monetary agreements and financial agreements that place a special emphasis on the infrastructure required to guarantee responsible innovation. A keynote speaker will be presented at the event. Statements made by Hang Xiongxin. Yes, I do, all right. I'm sorry if I misinterpreted that, but let me play a video of him shortly. You explain what he's saying. The head of the bank's research for international settlements, the system's economic advisor, and a panel of speakers to examine the legal underpinnings of digital asset tokens, tokenization use cases, risk management, and control. Take heed of what he has to say very carefully. So what kind of Ripple or XRP are they talking about silently? Take a listen to this. The system allows you to avoid the current practice, which should be, if I want to make a payment to a supplier on another continent on behalf of my client, what I need to do is hold a deposit in a bank in that jurisdiction, ideally, and then call the bank and say, look, debit my account and credit the supplier's account. If you don't have an account, you must use a correspondent bank, and if you don't even have a correspondent bank with a deposit in the jurisdiction, you need to string along a whole host of different correspondent banks. For the system to function, you must hold balances at each of these various links in the chain, which is, in a way, returning to the origins of there are those you are familiar with, and it's very intense in terms of liquidity. Operational difficulties. What this kind of platform can accomplish is shown throughout the chain. Is to simply bypass everything, and you already know what you would require. Naturally, you should turn part of your deposits into tokens before using them. I can't hold currency in 100 nations, but I want to do this in 100. Well, XRP, guess what you got? Yes, you understand that you can't prevent having to use some of your investment for other purposes, but you can just once, and let's just hold on to it. It in London, and after that, the tokens can move around freely without needing to lock up liquidity at certain times. As a result, rather than the German bank holding Turkish L, they would say Act Bank. Is it possible for you to accept XRP and give me Turkish L? That can be addressed right away without requiring you to retain balances, so you know how far that goes along with all the other issues that go along with that globally. Are these things occurring as we see them? We've conducted tests, and they appear to be effective. However, we still need to confirm that we can truly bring this to scale. Construct it so that they will, be able to withstand the test of experiencing life in the actual world. But the technology is quite obvious, and you are aware that it is not XRP-based experimental technology. Nothing yet, but there will be significant changes. Being the sole digital resource on Earth clarity, this isn't a coincidence. Pay attention to what follows. Topping off the cake, this is a financial reason why the most astute companies will be utilizing tokenized assets shortly. Here's what Brad Chase has to say. The formation of the protocols and markets that allow tokenized assets to be generated and traded is occurring simultaneously with the tokenized assets' fast development. We will soon witness the expansion of financial instruments that enable tokenized assets, such as derivatives, which are acceptable in trillions, along with new use cases. According to Brad Chase, head of liquidity products at Ripple, who also assisted in the brand's debut, only a blockchain basis allows it. Putting assets on the chain is just the first step towards becoming a liquidity hub within Ripple, they argue. Please let me know, ladies and gentlemen. I sincerely appreciate every one of you. What are your thoughts in the comments section? We began developing our IET with the hypothesis that cryptocurrency liquidity will someday be able to enable strong global payments. Check it out below, and we'll be back with another outro episode. Big Payments. The Ripple Net was created so that, when the market was sufficiently established, users might migrate to ODL after realizing the advantages of our fiat-based network. And that's precisely what's going on. Flip the switch and, I believe, construct what are you aware that it addresses a genuine issue? And I believe that each token represents my advice to everyone who would comprehend the value and utility if genuine worth and utility were being provided to a genuine customer who would find value in the token.